So, today we are going to learn a new chapter that is the beggar from your prescribed book, Moments. Okay, so my dear children, as we all know that our love and affection can change anyone's heart, isn't it? Criminals are not born criminals, but they are made into criminals by circumstances and situations. So let's begin with the with our explanation of the chapter that is the beggar. What induced the beggar Lashkov to change his ways? Let's read and find out. So here you'll get to know about the three characters that is Sergei, Lashkov, who is the beggar, Sergei is the advocate in the story, and Olga, his mate. Fine, so let's begin with the story. Kind sir, have pity. Turn your attention to a poor, hungry man. So, who says this line? This line is said by Lashkov, who is begging for alms. ALMS, alms. For 3 days I have had nothing, he says. I haven't 5 kopecks. Kopecks is a Russian currency for a lodging. I swear it before God. For 8 years I was a village school teacher and then I lost my place through intrigues. Intrigues means conspiracy, isn't it? I fell a victim to calumny, backbiting. Calumny means a defamatory sentence, or it also means backbiting. So it is a year now since I have had anything to do. So he talks to Sergei, and what he talks about? He talks about his position, isn't it? Like he's hungry and he has no lodging, he has no house, he has no shelter to live in, and he swear God, isn't it? And he also says that for 8 years he was a village school teacher, and then he lost his place through various conspiracies, by the people over there. The advocate Sergei looked at the ragged, fawn colored overcoat of the suppliant. So, who is this suppliant? Suppliant is the beggar. Okay, supply, suppliant. So, it's a noun over here. At his dull, drunken eyes, at the red spot on either cheek, and it seemed to him as if he had seen this man somewhere before. I have now had an offer of a position in the province of Kaluga. The mendicant went on. Who is this mendicant? Mendicant is the beggar. And who is this beggar over here? He is no other than Lashkov. But I haven't the money to get there. Help me kindly. I am ashamed to ask, but I am obliged to by circumstances. So he says that he feels ashamed. He is really shameful of what he is doing, full of shame. But then again he is forced by the circumstances, as I told you in the very beginning itself, that criminals are not born criminals, but they are made criminals due to circumstances and situations around them. Sergei's eyes fell on the man's overshoes, one of which was high and the other low, and he suddenly remembered something. Look here, it seems to me I met you that day before yesterday in Sadovia Street, he said. But you told me then that you were a student who had been expelled and not a village school teacher. Do you remember? So Sergei at once, just tells him about that before also he had met this man, and when he met this man he told me that he was a student then, isn't it? But now he is presenting himself as a school teacher. No, 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 that cannot be so, mumbled the beggar, taken aback. Aback is a phrasal verb and it means he was surprised. I'm a village school teacher, he says, and if you like I can show you my papers. Have you done with lying? So Sergei was very upset at this because the beggar was lying to him. And he said, have you done with lying? Have you completed with your what you want to say? And then again, what lie you want to, or what excuses you are going to give to me? You called yourself a student and even told me what you had been expelled for. Don't you remember? Sergei flushed and turned from the rat creature with an expression of disgust. So he was very angry. Expression of disgust shows here his expressions of being very angry. Sergei was very angry. And why he was very angry? Because Lashkov lied to him about his position. Before, when he met Sergei, Lashkov met Sergei, he told that he was a student, and now he is lying, saying that he is a school master, school teacher. This is dishonesty, my dear sir, he cried angrily. This is swindling. This is cheating. I shall send the police for you, damn you. Sergei says, sir, he said, laying his hand on his heart. The fact is, I was lying. I'm neither a student nor a school teacher. So he accepts that he was lying to him, and he is neither a student nor a school teacher. All that was fiction. Fiction here means all that was a woven story or a falsehood. Formerly, I sang in a Russian choir. So here he introduces himself, saying that he sang in a Russian choir and was sent away for drunkenness and was fired because he had that habit of drinking a lot. But what else can I do? I cannot get along without lying. So if I have to survive, if he says, Lashkov says that if he had to survive, he had to say lie, because nobody is going to sympathize with him, or nobody is going to provide him with the food. No one will give me anything when I tell the truth, he says. What can I do? What can you do? You ask what you can do, cried Sergei, coming close to him. Work. That's what you can do. You must work. So he asked him to live a dignified life by working, isn't it? Work. Yes, I know that myself. But where can I find work? Lashkov says, how would you like to chop wood for me? I wouldn't refuse to do that. So Sergei comes up with a proposal of chopping wood, isn't it? And he proposes this to Lashkov. But in these days, even skilled woodcutters find themselves sitting without bread. Will you come and chop wood for me? Sergei asked again. Yes, sir, I will. Very well. We will soon find out. Sergei hastened along. He just went out hurriedly, isn't it, rubbing his hands. He called his cook out of the kitchen. Here, Olga, isn't it? So Olga is his servant. He said, cook, you can say, take the gentleman into the woodshed and let him chop wood. So this is how, Lashkov was provided with the work, what he asked for. Actually, he did not want to work, but then again, due to the circumstance, and now it was the question of his dignity that he has to say yes. The scarecrow of Beggar shrugged his shoulders. Scarecrow of Beggar here reflects his, status, and then again his physical features, that he has grown very thin, isn't it? He is weak, he is very weak, as if in perplexity. Perplexity here means confusion, and went hesitantly, irresolutely here means hesitantly after the cook, as he did not want to work, but then he was being forced, because he now did not have any excuse to make. First he said that nobody is going to provide him with bread or any work, because all the woodcutters are sitting, isn't it, without work. But then again he got a chance, and he couldn't say no, because it was again now a question of his dignity. It was obvious from his gait, from his personality, that he had no consented to go. He had, he did not want to work and chop wood because he was hungry and wanted to work, but simply from pride and shame, as I told you. And because he had been trapped by his own words, so he cannot go back, isn't it? He has to do what he had spoken. Okay, he was trapped by his own words. It was obvious too that his strength had been undermined by vodka. He has become very weak because he was a regular drunkard, and he had that habit of drinking. Okay, so undermined, was dominated, okay, by vodka, and that he was unhealthy and did not feel the slightest inclination for toil. Okay, so he was unhealthy, he was weak, and he did not have that slightest inclination, interest for working hard. Okay, Sergei hurried into the dining room. From its windows one could see the woodshed and everything that went on in the yard. Standing at the window, Sergei saw the cook and Beggar come out into the yard by the back door and make their way across the dirty snow to the shed. Olga glared wrathfully. Olga was also very angry at her companion, shoved him aside with her elbow, unlocked the shed, and angrily banged the door. So, this was the reaction of Olga as well, isn't it? So, you can see glared, just looked at him wrathfully and then shoved him, pushed him aside with her elbow, unlocked the shed, and angrily banged the door. What happened next? As you can see over here, Sergei commanding Olga to take Lushkov for work for chopping the wood over here. Next, he saw the pseudo teacher sit himself, the false teachers, and himself on a log and become lost in thought with his red cheeks resting on his fist. The woman flung down an axe at his feet because she was very angry, spat angrily, and judging from the expression of her lips, began to scold him. The beggar hesitantly pulled a billet of wood towards him, set it up between his feet, and tapped it feebly. Feebly means weakly with the axe. So he continued with his work of chopping the wood. He started with the work of chopping the wood. The billet wavered, and billet means a piece of log over here. It just went about, wavered, and fell down near him. The beggar again pulled it to him, blew on his freezing hands, and tapped it with his axe cautiously, as if afraid of hitting his overshoe or of cutting off his finger. The stick of wood again fell to the ground. So the first day of his work began in the same way. He met Lushkov, met Olga, and she was very angry. And then he started with the chopping of woods. Okay, Sergei's anger had vanished and now began to feel a little sorry and ashamed of himself for having set a spoiled, drunken, perhaps maybe sick man to work at a menial labor in the cold. Menial labor means very small work in this cold. Even Sergei started feeling sorry for Lushkov. An hour later, Olga came in and announced that the wood had all been chopped. Good, give him half a ruble, said Sergei. If he wants to, he can come back and cut wood on the first day of each month. We can always find work for him. That is what Sergei said for Lushkov, isn't it? On the first of the month, the wave made his appearance and again earned half a ruble, although he could barely stand on his legs. Who is this wave over here? He is no one but Beggar. Okay, can say Lushkov as well. From that day on, he often appeared in the yard, and every time work was found for him. Now he would shovel snow, he would remove snow, now put the woodshed in order, now beat the dust off rugs and mattresses. Every time he received from 20 to 40 kopecks, and once even a pair of old trousers were sent out to him. When Sergei moved into another house, he hired him to help in the packing and pulling of the furniture. This time the wave was sober, gloomy. So you can see the transformation in the character, isn't it? In the character of Lushkov, isn't it? First he was least interested to work, but now on being called he came again. We never know whether actually the woods were or the logs were being chopped by him or by Olga. Okay, so that would be a surprise ending where he would tell you about his story, about his transformation, and he's going to narrate that to Sergei, isn't it? And he also he's filled with gratitude for both the characters in the story, and especially Olga, you will find here. So when Sergei moved into another house, he hired him to help in the packing and hauling of the furniture. This time the wave was sober, gloomy, and silent. You can please underline this line, is very important. He hardly touched the furniture and walked behind the wagons, hanging his head, not even making a pretense of appearing busy. He only shivered in the cold and became embarrassed when the carters jeered at him for his idleness, his feebleness, his weakness, and his tattered fancy overcoat. After the moving was over, Sergei sent for him. Sergei again called for him, and then again what he said, well, I'm happy that my words have taken effect. It has created influence on you, he said, handing him a ruble. Here is for your pains. I see you are sober and have no objection to work. What is your name? Lushkov. Well, Lushkov, I can now offer you some other cleaner employment. Can you write? I can. Then take the letter to friend of mine tomorrow and you'll be given some copying to do. Work hard, don't drink, and remember what I have said to you. Goodbye. Pleased at having put a man on the right path, Sergei tapped Lashkov kindly on the shoulder. Even a hard one would melt, isn't it? As I told you, we never know. He came there, he saw people working. He may not be working, but then he got an opportunity. So we can change a person, isn't it? It's not always our being rude to others, but then our good nature, our affection, our love, our benevolence can transform a man to certain extent, if you agree with me, and even gave him his hand at parting. Lashkov took the letter, and from that day onwards, came no more to the yard for work. 2 years went by. Then one evening, as Sergei was standing at the ticket window of a theater paying for his seat, he noticed a little man beside him with a coat collar of curly fur and a worn sealskin cap. This little individual timidly means shyly, asked the ticket seller for a seat in the gallery and paid for it in copper coins. Lashkov, is that you? Cried Sergei, recognizing in the little man his former woodchopper. How are you? What are you doing? How is everything with you? All right, I am a notary now and I am paid 35 rubles a month. Who said this? Lashkov. To whom, Sergei? Thank heaven. That's fine. I'm delighted. I'm delighted means I'm very happy for your sake. For you. Who says this? Sergei, when he meets Lashkov. I'm very, very glad, Lashkov. You see, you are my godson in a sense. I gave you a push along the right path, you know. Do you remember what a roasting, what a scolding? Roasting here means scolding. I gave you. Ah, I nearly had you sinking into the ground at my feet that day. Thank you, old man, for not forgetting my words. Thank you too, said Lashkov. If I hadn't come to you, then I might still have been calling myself a teacher or a student to this day. So finally, you can see that there's a complete transformation in Lashkov. He actually accepts the fact that he was lying, and now he is a transformed man due to Sergei. Yes, by flying to your protection means coming under your protection. After you giving me work, isn't it? Protecting me means again you can take the other interpretation, that is by your love and compassion that you gave me. I dragged myself out of a pit, out of dirt, isn't it? I'm leading a comfortable life, working hard now for myself, Lashkov says. I am very glad indeed. Thank you for your kind words and deeds. I am very grateful to you and to your cook. God bless that good and noble woman. You spoke finally then, and I shall be indebted to you to my dying day. But strictly speaking, it was your cook, Olga, who saved me. So finally, he, just spits out the fact that it was due to Olga, because of Olga, that he is completely a changed man. How is that? Now he explains, when I used to come to your house to chop wood, she used to begin, Oh, you sot, you, oh, you miserable creature, there's nothing for you but ruin. Ruin here means destruction. And then she would sit down opposite me and grow sad, look into my face and weep. Oh, you unlucky man, there is no pleasure for you in this world, and there will be none in the world to come. You drunkard, you will burn in hell. Oh, you unhappy one. And so she would carry on, in that strain. I cannot tell you how much misery she suffered, how many tears she shed for my sake. But the chief thing was that she used to chop the wood for me. Do you know, sir, that I did not chop one single stick of wood for you? So, my dear children, in the mid of the chapter, I told you about the Olga, isn't it? Definitely, Lashkov owes for his transformation to Sergei and Olga, but Olga more, since Olga's love and affection transforms him completely. So, it was not actually Lashkov who chopped the words, but Olga did it for him, as well as scolded him for his misdeeds and misacts. She did it all. Why this saved me? Why I changed? Why I stopped drinking at the sight of her? I cannot explain. I only know that owing to her words and noble deeds, a change took place in my heart. She set me right, and I shall never forget it. However, it is time to go now. There goes the bell. Leshkov bowed and departed to the gallery. So, this is a story written by Anton Chekhov, and he is a Russian author, and as you can see, the story is completely about transformation of a man. Okay, so one can change a man into a good one. That is, a criminal can be changed. It's not always the punishment, that is given to the students as well, but your love and affection can bring that transformation. Thank you, children, isn't it, for listening, for being a patient listener. Go through the chapter. If you still have any doubt, you can just clear your doubts. Thank you.